You know when you're playing Roblox with your friends and they're like, oh, what game do you want to play? And you're like, oh, I don't mind, you pick. And they're like, oh no, I picked last night, you picked tonight. So you just pick a random game. Let's use Murder Mystery, for example. And you're like, oh, let's play Murder Mystery. And then your friend's like, I don't like that game. Well, don't tell me to pick the game then. If you don't like the game that I want to play, don't ask me to pick the game in the first place if you're not gonna play the game I want to play. So then you suggest another game, like, oh, let's play Royal High. I don't like Royal High. No. If you want me to pick the game, you gotta be happy with the things that I tell you. You gotta be happy with the game that I pick. Because if you're just gonna say no to all the games that I pick, what's the point in asking me to pick? Chloe, I know you're probably gonna see this, and I know you're listening to this. I will come for you, and I will find...
I'm pretty sure my parents have very selective hearing. I would be there minding my own business, doing my own thing, right? And then I would hear my mom screaming my names from the bottom of the stairs. So I would go like, what? Really loudly. And so many times, but she literally wouldn't be able to hear me. Then I would have to go down and my mom would just be there asking, oh, what are you doing? But when it's like 2 a.m. in the morning and I'm calling my friends, whispering, barely making a sound, basically just breathing, she would already be storming to my bedroom, half asleep, yelling at me to shut up. How does this work?
Is it just me, like, when you're watching YouTube or, like, anything that has adverts, and an advert pops up, and it's just like, writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically correct, but it's wordy and hard to read. It's like, no! I don't want Grammarly! I can write! I can read! I don't need this!
In my opinion, Miraculous is a tiny bit overrated. I mean, sis, don't get me wrong, I ain't no hater, but it's the same in every freaking episode. You know, someone gets angry, then they get acclimatized by Hawkmoth. Then Ladybug and Cat Noir come to the rescue and fight a little bit. And then Ladybug uses her, like, lucky charm, and then they win. Then Hawkmoth, at the end of every single episode, is like, I will get you next time, Cat Noir and Ladybug. Just you wait and see. Miss Girl! Well, it better be soon, Hawkmoth! It's been like 100 episodes, and you ain't even been close! Get your game face on! Get your game face on!
Or broke. Then about a month later, when we were capable to, we did move. Nothing has happened since.
Should I break up with my boyfriend for fat shaming me? My boyfriend and I started dating 2 years ago. At the beginning of our relationship, I was weighing 130 pounds. So back then, he never had a problem with my weight. In fact, he used to praise me and tell me that he loved my body. He always would tell me that my curves were sexy, and I would sometimes tell him that I wanted to lose weight, but he would always say no. In fact, a few months after we started dating, I went on a diet. I lost about 5 pounds in 2 weeks, and he told me that I needed to stop. He told me he liked my womanly body. So I stopped dieting. At first, I was happy that he loved my body so much, but at the same time, I didn't feel healthy, which is why I started the diet in the first place. After I stopped the diet, I still kept on eating healthy, with the exception that every now and then we would have pizza or fast food. But I still tried to keep it to a minimum. So my boyfriend is actually in the Marines, and he had to go away for a few months. This sent me into a depression because I missed him so much. And because of that, I started eating a lot. I would ask my mom to cook me my favorite meals, and I would basically just eat all day. At the time, I also didn't have a job, so that was making me depressed as well. So I ended up gaining 40 pounds. Part 2 is up. Should I break up with my boyfriend for fat shaming me? While he was in the Marines, I ended up gaining 40 pounds. I was super depressed and I didn't have a job and I missed him so much. One day he calls me and tells me that he's gonna be home in 2 weeks. And that's when I knew I needed to start dieting again. But then part of me remembered that my boyfriend liked me when I was thicker and curvier. So what I did was I cut down on all the fried foods, but I still kept eating a lot during the day, which basically helped me maintain the weight instead of just losing weight. In preparation for his coming home, I went to get my hair done, my nails done. I even got a facial and I went to get wax down there, which of course is super painful. I even went to pick up some lingerie because nothing fit me at the time. I also cleaned my entire apartment and cooked him a really nice meal. To tell you, I even called his mother to ask her for the recipes. I was so excited to see him. He finally shows up to my house and I have everything ready. But as soon as he sees me, he asks me what happened. I said, what do you mean? Then all he said was, you're fat. At first I laughed because I thought he was joking. Then he says, what's so funny? It's like he was instantly angry. I told him I gained some weight and that I didn't bother losing it because he liked me curvy. That's when he said, yeah, I like you curvy, not fat. Then he told me I looked disgusting. Should I break up with my boyfriend for fat shaming me? After he told me I looked disgusting, I instantly broke out into tears. That's when he said, what did you expect? Then he said, I've been away for months. The last thing I want to come home to is a huge gut. But then I started crying more and he kind of softened up. He said that we could work out together and that he could help me lose the weight. He then pulls up his phone and shows me a picture of what he thinks I should look like. It was basically some random Instagram model that he followed, who was actually way skinnier than I was when he first met me. For the next week, he barely touched me, and he would make little snide remarks every time he saw me eating. For example, one night we decided to watch a movie at my place. I asked him if he wanted any snacks, and he said no. Then I told him I was probably gonna make some popcorn and if he wanted any. That's when he said I needed to watch what I was eating, especially at night, and that the last thing I needed was snacks during a movie. This obviously hurt my feelings. And of course, I started dieting again. But this time I was even more strict about it. I basically cut out every single thing that I like to eat, and I was only eating lean meats and salad, but very little portions. One night he invited his friends to come over to watch a football game. Instead of me having to cook, I offered to order them pizza and they said yes. When the pizzas finally arrived, my boyfriend said in front of everybody, you don't get to eat any pizza because you still need to lose weight. I was so horrified, mortified, I wanted to literally crawl under a rock and die. His friends started laughing because they actually thought it was a joke. Then he says, no, you guys, I'm serious. She's so fat. I couldn't believe my boyfriend was putting me down like that in front of his friends. I gave him the silent treatment, but he really didn't care. After a full month, I started finally losing weight. It's been 3 months now, and I'm weighing 120 pounds. Now he's all over me and constantly tells me that I look beautiful. But I'm never gonna forget how he treated me when I was heavier. I know that I should break up with him because of how he treated me, but I really do love him. And he's back to normal now. He loves me and touches me all the time. What should I do?
In high school, I was taking a test and I noticed that all the answers that I was getting on the test were B. It was just B, 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 B on a Scantron, and I thought, well, that can't be right. So I went back and I changed a bunch of my answers. My friend sitting next to me was not doing as well in the class. And so when she saw that there was a pattern of B, 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 she was like, screw it. I have a bad grade anyway. And so she didn't even read the rest of the questions. She just filled in all the B's on the Scantron, finished first, and she got an A on the test. And I was like, why? Why would you do that, Mr. Garcia? And he said, well, if you really knew your stuff, you wouldn't have gone back and changed the answers. You wouldn't have been insecure about it. And I was like, I'm 15. You can't take points off of a test because I'm insecure.
Am I wrong for wearing all white to my best friend's wedding and refusing to apologize? My 30 female, best friend 32 female, invited us, husband and I, to go on vacation with them to a paradise island. She told me to bring the dress I wore to my anniversary dinner for the special dinner event she planned during the vacation. I said sure. I also recently gave birth, and that dress is a very elegant black lace overnude dress that is very classy but also form-fitting. When I tried it on when packing, I realized it wasn't as flattering and I had a hard time fitting. So instead, I packed a cute, semi-formal white lace dress instead. I figured it was close enough. I arrived to the event and found out it was a surprise wedding where she only invited like 20 guests on the beach. She hadn't told me it was her wedding because of an inside joke. I kept telling them to get married and watch, they will elope and the next thing we know they are married. She was horrified and so was I. I didn't bring any other dress, plus there was no time to change or buy a new one. Also, surprise, I'm the maid of honor. I offered to either not be the maid of honor or leave the wedding, but she'd rather me not. Later, she blamed me for ruining her wedding because I didn't follow her instructions to wear a specific dress and didn't tell her about changing my mind. I said I'm sorry her wedding was ruined, but it wasn't my fault and she should have told me it was her wedding, and at the time of packing, I didn't find it appropriate to get her approval on my outfit.
I know this is going to sound fake, but my mom is delusional. I'm not fat shaming anyone here, but she's nearly 400 pounds and in severe denial about it. It started when her last boyfriend called her old and fat. Mom's 45 now and tries to dress like a teenager, and she somehow projected her self-image into my younger sister, who is 17. Mom has repeatedly forced her to wear clothes in the sizes that she gets for herself. The clothes are so baggy they practically fall off my poor sister. I decided to help by getting her some secondhand clothes in her sizes. But my mom always took these clothes as being in her size as well and tore them apart trying to put them on. And when confronted, she claimed there was just something wrong with the clothes, as my daughter and I are the same size after all. I tried to tell her otherwise, but she refused to listen and even threatened to hurt me when I pressed the matter. My sister was beside herself because any new clothes she got, our mom kept destroying trying to wear. It got so bad that she was hiding her clothes in my apartment and swinging by to change before school, then changing back before she got home. It infuriated me that she was having to do that, so I decided that being the nice guy wasn't solving anything. I invited my mom over to my apartment. While there, I called her out on what she was doing. She denied all of it, so I pulled out the digital scale and asked her to use it. Then I asked my sister to stand on it next, and her weight came out to less than half of our mom's. My mom blamed the scale and said it was faulty, but it read her same weight when she stood on it again. Then I pulled out a nice slim-fitting fur-lined winter jacket that I found for my sister. My mom's eyes lit up when she saw it, as I knew it was the sort of style that she likes. I asked my sister to put on the jacket, and it fit her perfectly. Then I asked my mom to do the same. She didn't hesitate to try, but could barely get one of her arms in the jacket and couldn't even get the other into it. She spent a good 10 minutes struggling with it before I told her that enough was enough and that she and my sister are not the same size at all. I took back the jacket and my sister put it back on with ease. I told my mom that she needed major therapy and to stop projecting herself onto my sister. My mom started huffing and puffing and then left my apartment howling and crying. She locked my sister out of their own apartment. I texted her saying that she'd better let my sister back in or I'd be calling the police for child abandonment. She let her in but refused to speak to her. My sister threw out all of the baggy clothes our mom forced her to wear in favor of the clothes I helped her get. Her friends also contributed to some as well. However, day after day our mom has refused to speak to us, only cries and leaves the room when we try to say anything to her. Did I go too far proving my point?
I used to deepen my voice so I wouldn't get beat up. Story time. So don't mind the way I look. I did a hair thing and I'm about to wash it out. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so boom. So when I used to go get my hair cut, actually I still catch myself doing it today. I would deepen my voice because a lot of men in barbershops are not for that gay shit, okay? And I ain't trying to get beat up. Like, I've been in a barbershop where all the men are sitting there talking about what they would do to their sons if their sons came out gay, and it is not pretty. So obviously I don't want them doing that to me. So I always had a girly voice, but back then my voice was higher. Like, it was like kind of like this. And like I said, I would change it. So every time I would go in the barbershop, it would be like this. And what is it that you need?
Can you just give me a fade all the way around?
Okay. And sometimes they would just look at me funny like, okay. But this one time I really thought I had my barber fooled. You know, he was talking to me like a straight man. I was like, oh, he thinks I'm straight. But why when I was leaving, he was like, bye, Fruity Pebbles.
So in middle school, I played every single sport in the books, one of them being track. So this was 8th grade and we were going to a track meet. And on this track meet, I had a really close friend and she saw a dude that she liked. So I ended up being her wingman. Like for part 2, if you haven't watched part 1, go watch it now so this can make sense. So we were at this track meet and my friend was like, ooh, that boy over there is cute. And we saw that there was a guy next to her. So she's like, come with me, come with me. So me being the woman that I am, I was like, girl, I ain't gonna let you go alone. I got you. I'll be your wingman. So we went up to them and we all exchanged numbers. Tell me why this dude that I just met, is going to start blowing up my phone. Hi, how are you? How are you? You look so beautiful. Like, can I call you my girl? My girl? We've only known each other for like 30 seconds, bro. My girl. You mean my acquaintance? I'm like, no, let's get to know each other a little bit more. And then he's like, okay, babe. Babe, stop. But you know, me being the young, naive girl that she was like, oh, he called me babe. He must like me. Okay, if you haven't watched part 1 and part 2, go watch those now. So right off the bat, he started calling me babe. After the first time he texted me, I was shook. But as a young, naive girl, you know, I had never had a boyfriend. I was like, ooh, you know, this is cute. He likes me. You know, he ain't that cute. He kind of looked like a frog, but you know, I can give him a chance. Just for visual representation purposes, he would do his hair like this. Ew! Moment of silence for me, please. So after like 3 days talking, he convinced me, I don't even know how, bro, to be his girlfriend. He was like, you know, we've been talking for so long. 3 days? Anyways, so we started dating. And this was literally a week before school was over. So he was going to a completely different school. Like, he didn't go to my school. Keep in mind, I never saw him again. We would just text and send pictures to each other from our flip phones. Like for part 4. If you haven't watched part 1, part 2, and part 3, you know the drill. So school was over, so we were never going to see each other again in any of the track meets. Plus, I'm Hispanic, so my mama, sure my daddy wasn't going to let me show up and be like, you know, I got a boyfriend and I'm in 8th grade. I would have been dead in my coffin. Like, no. So I clearly remember we had only been dating for like a week. School was over and he told me, I love you. You love who? Your mama? Your bed? I'm sorry, because not me. You can't love me. But my dumb self was like, I love you too. But I just didn't like the conversations because he was always like, I love you. I miss you. I miss you so much. I miss you so much. Boy, what do you have to miss? You have never like been with me. Like, you have never seen me. Like, we only met for like 30 seconds. So I ended up going to the summer camp. And this is where it got crazy. Like for part 5. If you haven't watched the other parts, you know what to do. So tell me why this is the second week into dating and I'm going to the summer camp. This dude, like, literally went psycho. This is how I know that he's controlling. My phone died on the way going, okay? So I memorized his number. I texted him from my friend's phone and I was like, hey, I'm